I've spent the last 18 years in B2B sales, built and trained SDR teams at every stage, from early startup all the way up to large enterprises, and installed outbound systems for 12 companies in the last 9 months, like FrontEgg, Precoro, Wpromote, and Management Controls. And right now, we're seeing that organizations that are obsessing over more dials, more sequences, hire more reps, and AI personalization are actually producing less and less real conversations with every quarter that passes. Now, most companies go blame their reps, but that's not actually the problem. They don't realize that the entire market has shifted. In the last month alone, phone carriers are flagging business numbers as spam more frequently. Gmail's AI filters are pulling sales emails right out of the inbox and dumping them in the spam folder before anyone sees them. And LinkedIn is banning accounts and cracking down on automation tools altogether. So I wanted to make this video to break down the right way to do outbound sales today in a way that still produces predictable and scalable pipeline without having to hire a bunch of reps. All right, let's get into it. So first, let's take a look at the stack that most companies are running on today. And don't stress out if this sounds like what you're doing. You've got a team of SDRs, parallel dialer to crank up the dial count, sequencing tool like Outreach or SalesLoft, running multi-channel cadences, probably a data provider like ZoomInfo or Apollo that the reps use to build their own lists. And of course, AI layered on top because we're gonna try to personalize every message. Now look, every piece of that tech stack was sold to you for one purpose. Go do more dials, more emails, more personalization. Now on paper, that sounds great and looks great. Activity metrics with reps hitting 150, 300, 500, and even sometimes 1,000 dials a day, and they're sending thousands of emails a week. But here's what that tech stack and strategy is actually producing now. On most teams we audit, we're seeing that they're having one connect for every 30 to 60 dials, sometimes up to 80 dials. The phone numbers they're using to make calls are being flagged as spam the very same day they're using it, even though at the beginning of the day, it might have been clean. And now prospects who would have answered the phone are seeing spam likely or junk on their phone, and obviously don't pick up. Also, cold email reply rates on a clean domain are sitting between 1% and 3%. And that's before Gmail's AI filter takes out a chunk of them and drops them into that promotion folder, or worse, spam folder. And then you've got LinkedIn as a channel, which is only really helpful if you're selling to sales or marketing. LinkedIn is shutting down accounts that violate their rules, and they're banning automation tools altogether. So any team that has been using LinkedIn for outbound just lost that channel. And now the worst part about running that exact stack is that it looks like it's working when it actually isn't, because hey, dial count is up, email count is up, and the dashboard is green on all the activity metrics. Meanwhile, the stuff that the board or investors actually care about, cost of acquisition, keeps rising. And then eventually reps get fired within 3 to 6 months of being hired for not producing. And leadership keeps hiring more reps to replace those that are being fired. So you end up in this spot where the tools you bought and the headcount that you brought in are just making the economics even worse and setting the business up for a very expensive way to get new business from outbound. All right, by the way, if you're watching this and you're realizing that your current outbound system and team is built on a playbook that doesn't seem to be working, click that first link in the description below to book a free call with us. And the first thing that we'll do before ever working with anyone is we'll run a live calling campaign. We'll actually call your prospects. We'll write a script for you. And in a 90-minute live calling session, we're gonna have 20 to 30 conversations with your prospects as you watch live and listen in on every call. We'll uncover exactly where the bottlenecks are in your outbound system and propose solutions for you so you can move forward and start producing more pipeline predictably. Anyway, let's keep going. The entire outbound model that we see working today is built around one key metric, which is completed conversations or completions. You need to stop only looking at things like dials, sequences completed, and even booked meetings, because none of those things tell you whether your reps are actually having conversations with your prospects and what's happening in those conversations. You're missing 85% of the story. Completions, on the other hand, are the most honest leading indicator of future pipeline. And that's the number that every other thing in the funnel should be working backwards from. Now, completion or a completed conversation isn't just any connect that happened on the phone. It's a specific thing. First, your rep reached the actual intended target, not a gatekeeper, not an AI assistant, and it's not an amount of talk time measured. The rep had an opportunity to cleanly deliver a concise pitch and, most importantly, gathered information on where in the buying cycle this prospect is, or if they're not even the right person. A completion will tell you after every call is complete, the system needs to know what is the next step. You schedule them for a future date. If it was a yes, you schedule them for a future meeting or have a sales rep call them back. Or you make a decision to try them back in the future or never. And maybe we try to nurture them through marketing. Basically, are we moving this prospect forward or are we moving them out? So now the rep isn't sitting there at the end of the week wondering which of the 60 conversations actually meant something. Compare that to measuring dials, completed sequences, and even meeting set. None of those tell you anything about potential revenue or where your prospect is in their buying cycle. Dials just tell you how hard a rep worked, but they don't tell you if any work actually happened. Booked meetings are the most misunderstood metric. All they tell you is your rep got someone to agree to schedule an interaction, but the industry standard is a 35% no-show rate. And then a good chunk of the ones that do happen go nowhere because the rep was incentivized to just book that meeting, regardless of any qualification level. I've seen it all, and it's actually a lot worse than that. The real full picture cost of paying reps to set meetings usually turns that rep into a disrespectful, sleazy salesperson who's going to ignore everything a prospect says to them if it doesn't mean they're booking a meeting, and the rep just pushes and pushes and pushes for a meeting, which ultimately just poisons the well with bad behavior one call at a time. A completion can't be faked or forced because you either had a real conversation and understood what the prospect's response was to your pitch or you didn't. It's a data point, it's a signal, and it's an outcome. Now, the target that you want to build towards on this model is going to be somewhere between 15 to 20, maybe 25 completions per rep per day. Now, that's the benchmark we see on teams running this new model. And it's a 15 to 25x increase from what most teams are able to produce right now, which is maybe 0, 1, or 2 conversations per rep per day. Once you hit that volume of real connects and completions, your pipeline starts to become powerfully predictive. You will see exactly what percentage of your market is working with competition, what percentage is a no now but maybe later, which is a really great signal. And you're going to see what's driving results not just for today, but for the next 2 to 6 weeks. And you're going to see what's driving today's results as well as the next 3 months of potential results. It also means that one rep running inside of the system will roughly produce the same outcome of a team of 6 to 10 inside the old one, which will completely change how you think about building your outbound team. Now, the first thing that's going to change is outbound will become phone first again, simply because the phone is actually now scalable and the economics will work as you grow it. When you have the right rep making calls with a clean caller ID, calling phone numbers from a scored list, that rep can hit 16 to 40% connect rate, one conversation every 2 to 5 dials, which means that every day that rep can have somewhere between 25 and 40 connects, which is exactly what you want your whole outbound team hitting. Now, before any rep starts dialing, every phone number you pull from a database has to first get scored for its reachability or phone intent. My partner Ryan built and sold a company called Phone Ready Leads, which is now called TitanX. This is exactly what they do. They take your phone numbers and score them for likelihood to pick up. This basically tells you if a person will answer the phone when you call them or not. The numbers that don't get answered don't go to a rep, and the ones that do get prioritized for a rep to go call. This way, the reps efficiently spend their time with people who are actually going to answer. Last quarter, for example, we took one of our clients' existing lists of about 2,245 numbers, and we rescored it and then went to go call it in our proof of concept, our outbound go-to-market readiness assessment. That list went from one conversation every 60 dials to 21 conversations from 53 dials. That's roughly a 23x lift in dial to connect. Or said differently, it was about a 39.6% dial to connect rate instead of what would have been a 1.6% dial to connect rate. At 60 dials a day, that would have been an entire month's worth of conversations in 2 hours of dialing off of the exact same list that they were already going to work without adding a single new prospect to the list. The second critical part of the system is follow-up, because people who pick up the phone once will pick up the phone again and again and again. When someone answers a cold call, even if it's just a 10-second exchange, they now enter what we call a priority bucket or priority status, which is a list of contacts who have proven that they will engage on the phone. Now, most reps treat a short call like that as a dead end. But when you start running outbound this way, it's the single most valuable follow-up task that you have. Because when I go call that person back in the future and have another conversation conversation. We typically see that 20 to 40% of those convert to the next step simply by calling them back and having another conversation. Now, when you put them together, the right rep dialer, calling lists that have been scored, and a follow-up system, and of course the right script too, your whole unit economics for outbound changes dramatically. One rep running inside of this new system will produce the same outcomes, if not more, than a team of 6 to 10 in the old system. This is what we saw firsthand with management controls. They had 4 and then eventually 3 reps on a team that hit 106% of a full year pipeline target halfway through the year, at the halfway mark. And that was against their original plan that said they would have needed 34 reps. And they achieved that with a team of 4. Obviously, that means your cost of acquisition is coming down because you're paying for way less headcount and way less software to produce the same pipeline, and often more pipeline. But here's the real catch, is the conversations happen way quicker. You're gonna condense time in the new system. What used to take 6 months will now take 2 weeks. And it means that new reps are productive on day 1 and 2, fully ramped within their first month, instead of being fully ramped somewhere between month 3 and 6, because the list is doing a lot of the work that used to fall on how skilled a rep was. And obviously, when a new rep is having 25 to 40 connects a day instead of 1 or 2, they learn a whole lot faster. So outbound still works, but the version most companies are running right now is just built for a time when the phone, emails, and LinkedIn all work the way it used to. This new way doesn't require a bigger team, better reps, more software. It actually requires fewer reps, less software, and a simplified system. Building the system around the thing that actually predicts revenue, which is completions. I reached the right prospect, we had a conversation, and I can document exactly what and why their outcome was what it was. So look, if you want to see how this new way of doing outbound could work in your organization, click the first link in the description and book a call with us. On that call, we'll show you exactly how this works, and we'll even call your prospects. So by the end of it, you'll know if your organization can even support outbound in this new way, and if so, what it would take. You'll also know what your list reach is, how many people ever pick up the phone, if your message is resonating with your audience, what your conversion math is, your projected cost of acquisition and ROI from the phone, and most importantly, what the right team size is to support your revenue goals. We've done this already for dozens of organizations and would love to see how we can help you as well. The call is free, so again, in the description, you'll find a link where you can book the call. And if you want to see how we replaced 34 SDRs with just 4 and beat the pipeline goal, then check out this video next.